Okay, we're going to talk about our, we're going to get into our trig unit now. And basically trigonometry is, you can kind of look at it as like triangle geometry. Thus, trigonometry. So we're going to be dealing primarily with triangles throughout this unit, or this part of this unit. A trigonometric ratio is a ratio of two sides of a right triangle. Okay. More specifically, today we're going to talk about applying the tangent ratios. Okay, so tangents are the ratio of the two legs of a right triangle. So, with that in mind, if we're looking at this triangle ABC here, if I was going to find the tangent of angle B, okay, so the tangent of angle B is going to be equal to 4 over 6. Okay, and 4 over 6, when you break it down, is going to be 0.7367. And generally, when we're speaking of, dealing with tangent, sine, cosine, and tangent, stuff like that, you're going to round it out to 4 decimal places. Okay, and so you're going to, when you do this, you're actually going to have 0.7367. Okay. Now, if you notice, which side did I put over which side? Well, for tangent, it's going to be, the tangent of an angle is going to be the opposite leg over the adjacent leg. So notice we're not dealing with hypotenuse in this section, okay? And that's going to be pretty common for this entire first section with tangents. We will deal with it later on with sine and cosine. Okay, so if we want to get the tangent of angle A, okay, we need to do the opposite. Okay, that's the opposite. A over adjacent. Adjacent is the one right next to it, which is B. So the tangent of angle A is A over B. Now, normally when we label these triangles generically, like we have A, B, C, the vertices are big letters or capitalized letters, and then across from the angle vertices are your lowercase, the same letter but lowercase. So over here, if I was looking at tangent B, so the tangent of angle B, I would be looking at this opposite side here, which would be B over A. Okay? So it's very important that you pay attention to the placement of these angles and the location of their opposite and adjacent side, because the B is the opposite on this one, and A is adjacent, because that we're changing the angle. So it depends on the angle that you're doing this for. So you got to pay attention to what angle you're doing it for and where the opposite and adjacent sides are. Okay? Okay, let's say we want to get the tangent of angle A here. I'm not going to make any markings. Why don't you pause the video for a second and see if you can figure out what the tangent of angle A is. Okay, so hopefully you're back, and now we have the opposite of A is 4. So the opposite of A is 4 over the adjacent, which is 3. If I work this out on my calculator, I end up with 1.3333, 4 decimal places, right? The opposite, or let's go ahead and figure out the tangent of angle B. Again, go ahead and pause your video and see if you can figure that out. It should be pretty simple now. Okay, hopefully you're back with us. Well, the opposite of tangent B is now going to be 3 over 4. Okay, so the opposite side is 3, as I pointed to there, over 4. So that equals 0.7500. Again, I'm going 4 decimal places, right? Okay, so here's what I want you to do right now. if you don't have your textbook next to you, pause the video and go grab your textbook real quick. Okay, on page 925 in your textbook, you're going to see a page that says trigonometric ratios. Okay, and this is going to be helpful for you if you don't have a calculator or a scientific calculator, or you don't know how to use the scientific calculator you have in order to figure out angle measures. A while back I said right now you can't figure out angle measures unless they're given to you. But now, if you have sides, by using the sine, cosine, and tangent functions, you'll be able to figure out actual angle measures without being given one of the other angles. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Look on page 925 and look under the tangent column. You'll see 4 columns there. You see the angle degrees, sine, cosine, and tangent. So look under the tangent column. What I want you to do is, I want you to look for the number that's closest to 1.3333 in the tangent column. As you scroll down, you're going to come across the angle at the closest one is 1.3270, and that is going to be 53 degrees. So what you can now conclude from using your tangent, okay, is that the measure of angle A is roughly, I'm going to say approximately, 53 degrees. Okay, do the same thing for angle B. What is the measure of angle B? Take a second, pause the video, and figure out what the measure of angle B is. Okay, you should have looked for 0.7500 in your tangent column, and the closest one you come to is 0.7536, which comes out to be 37 degrees. Okay, notice, and this is common sense because of all the work we've done, measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B equals 90 degrees. It's good that you pay attention to that because that'll be an opportunity for you to check yourself to make sure that you are on the right track and you're doing the right thing. Okay? Alright, as always, if you have any questions over this, please feel free to write it down and come see me. Now, I want to take a break right here, and I want to tell you how to use your calculator on this, okay? So there's not going to be a whole lot of drawing on this. You're just going to have to kind of listen. I'm going to go ahead and write down the steps for you for the calculator, but there's not a whole lot of writing I'm going to do after that. So where you're going to use a calculator for tangent. Okay, now you can use it a couple different ways. But the first thing you need to do in any case is go hit the mode button. So press mode on your calculator. And again, what I'm telling you about is your standard, the calculators that we use at school, okay? I don't know how to use every calculator on this, but in any case, what you need to do is most calculators start in radian mode. So go down to change your mode out of radian and arrow over to degree. So go into mode and change mode from radian to degree. Okay? So that's your first step. Okay, now to find tangent of an angle measure, once you change it out of your mode, once you change your mode to degree, what you want to do is you want to hit the button that says tangent. So press the button that says tangent. And when you do this, you should see tan and parentheses come up. So if you want to find the tangent of an angle measure, you would just put the angle measure in there. So we'll put 37. Okay? So once that's in there, put 37. You can choose to close the parentheses if you want, and then hit enter. And then you'll see your answer come up. And in this case, tangent of 37 degrees is 0.75 0.36, which is pretty close to what we found over here, right? We said this and this were pretty close together. Okay, so that's how you find the tangent if you're given an angle measure, and that'll be helpful later, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay? But now let's see if we want to find the angle measure from the tangent. What you need to hit now is second, then hit the tan button, and essentially what you're hitting is the tan inverse button. And then this should pop up. It should say tan -1, that's the inverse, and then open parentheses. And then here you want to put 3/4 in there. And again, make sure you put those in parentheses as well. Okay? And then hit enter. And then what you're going to end up with is your angle measure, which is roughly 36.9 degrees. Okay? Again, which matches what we've calculated earlier, right? You can also hit second tangent and plug in 0.7536, and you'll get 37, a little bit closer value. It just depends on what you use for your tangent value. So that's how you use your calculator. And again, that's the standard calculators that we use at school. That's how you use your calculator to find tangent or to find the angle measure. Okay? All right, so let's move on. Okay, let's say that we're given a triangle like this one here with an angle measure of 56, x, and 13. How would I solve for x? Well, I can set this up by saying, okay, if I find the tangent of 56, I know it equals the opposite, okay, opposite x over the adjacent, which is 13. Okay? Now, this is a simple algebra problem. To get x by itself, I need to multiply both sides by 13. That cancels that out. That leaves me with 13 times the tangent of 56 equals x. Okay? You can do that in your calculator very easily. You can just do the tangent of 56 if you want, and you'll end up with 13 times 1.4826 equals x, and then just multiply those together. So 13 times that equals 19.3. Now, here's the deal about tangents. Some of you, if you're like me, you just use your calculator. When you use your calculator, you don't round right away. You just use the answer from the previous button. I just use hit second answer and plug in the answers. Depending on where you approximate, you're going to have some fluctuation on your answers. If you approximated like we did here, we approximated early there, okay? If you approximate early, your answer is going to be different than if you just kept it and did 13 times the tangent, and you could put all that in your calculator. If you do 13 times the tangent of 56, you're going to end up with, well, pretty close to the same, but there could be some fluctuation depending on the number, okay? So, in any case, just be careful of where you approximate. Don't approximate too early, and make sure you're always going out 4 digits, okay? 4 digits is pretty safe. You're going to get all pretty close to the same answer, okay? Now, what if I want to find y on the other problem here? Well, of course, we're dealing with tangent, so I can immediately say, okay, well, let's do tangent of 61. I'm looking at opposite, okay, is 22 in this case, over adjacent, which is y. Little bit different setup. I remember when I taught Algebra 1 primarily, this is where students had a hard time getting y by itself. What's the first thing I need to do here? I need to get y by itself, but unfortunately I have to get the denominator gone. So I'm going to multiply both sides by y. That's going to cancel this out, leaving me with the tangent of 61, y is equal to 22. Now I can simply divide by the tangent of 61 to cancel that out. Divide this side by the tangent of 61. And I have y equals 22 divided by the tangent of 61. Well, I can say 22 divided by, again, hit tangent of 61. So tangent 61 in your calculator. And if you don't have your calculator, you can go into your textbook on 925, go to 61 degrees, and you'll find the tangent is 1.8040. So 1.8040 is our tangent. Okay, again, your textbook will help you with that if you need it. And then I'm just going to do 22 divided by that, and I'm going to get 12.2. So y is equal to 12.2. And that's the application part of tangent, okay? Because that's what our the section's about. I told you, kind of showed you the tangent part, but the application is about doing these problems right here. Again, hopefully you learned from this last test that you need to make sure you are doing your homework thoroughly and understanding it. It's okay to work together. It's absolutely okay to get help. But please do not think you've mastered this homework unless you completely understand what you're doing. And sometimes a good grade on homework does not mean you understand what you're doing. Okay? And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, come see me in tutoring. Have a great night.